Bibliophiles of the Internet. My name is Adriana, and today I'm here to review Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. Everything Everything is a YA contemporary novel about a girl named Maddie who has been diagnosed with what people commonly refer to as baby bubble disease. Everything in her house is extremely clean and sanitized, and anyone who wants to come see her has to go through a rigorous medical examination and a decontamination process. So her interactions with other humans are very limited and closely monitored. And above all else, she is not allowed outside of the house for any reason ever. Maddie is more than happy to comply with these rules for her own safety, but of course everything changes when an intriguing young man moves into the house next door and he and Maddie exchange email addresses and strike up an online friendship that shows the potential for maybe something more. First, before I talk about characters or writing or anything I usually talk about in my reviews, let's talk about form and format, because that is going to be a huge factor in this novel's success, because I think it's very consciously done, it's done very well, and that was perhaps one of my favorite elements in this entire story. What I mean when I say form and format is the fact that these chapters are so incredibly short. They really function more as a collection of vignettes. Very brief, abbreviated glimpses into a certain moment or a certain emotion. And I think that's very important, because not only does the short form have this very unique kind of energy to it that really propels the story forward, but the reader will find themselves constantly engaged with every single aspect of this story. The short form is very inviting, it's accessible, it's easy and fun to read, and there is this palpable kind of momentum to the story, all because the chapters are so short and you really feel like you're immersed in the world throughout the entire story. Of course, I also have to mention the incorporation of mixed media throughout this novel. There are so many fun things to find within the pages of this book. There are recipes, receipts, emails, IMs, doodles, graphs, charts, health stats, screenshots, just so many fun things that Maddie has elected to include in the story itself. And not only do these mixed media elements contribute to the energy of the short form and make this book very quick and easy to read, but more importantly, they add another dimension to the story. They make you feel like the world of the story is being built around you as the reader, like you're a part of this story, and like these things that are happening are real and tangible. So it makes you feel like you're involved in the story. And in my opinion, that's what makes the mixed media elements so effective in this novel. I also have to say that I really did enjoy Nicola Yoon's writing style. I think it's very fun and engaging, and she has a really great sense of humor that definitely comes through in this book, but also her writing is very beautiful and insightful when it has to be. There really were some stunning moments of clarity throughout this novel when her language just floored me and her words just struck something deep within me and moved me in a way that I can't even describe. I thought she was very insightful and thought-provoking at times, and I really did appreciate her writing overall, as I said. And rest assured, if I had a physical copy of this book, I would have tabbed the crap out of it. With all of that praise in mind, this is not a 5-star review. I did have quite a number of issues with Everything, so let's get into those. First of all, let's address the elephant in the room. This book falls prey to insta-love, big time. I feel like it's pretty clear, even in the synopsis, that Ollie, the boy next door, is very much the first guy who Maddie ever interacts with, and very shortly after she sees him for the first time, she feels very strongly about him, and there's even some mild stalking that takes place that I don't know how to feel about. This was really the only downside of the short form, because a lot of the relationships in this book, not just the romantic relationship, felt a bit rushed and underdeveloped, kind of on the one-dimensional side. And if the chapters had been longer, if the book itself had been longer, these characters would have had more room to breathe and more time to develop. But as I said, because the chapters were so so short and the story moved along so swiftly. I felt like I really didn't get a handle on any of the relationships in this book, and as I said, they felt a bit rushed. Kind of on a related note, I was also very disappointed that this book didn't showcase a strong family dynamic. That was a huge missed opportunity. As the story starts, you learn that up until this point, it's really been Maddie and her mom versus the world. I mean, Maddie has been stuck inside her house her entire life with her mom as her only source of company, her only friend, family member, confidant, what have you. So I was ready to really dig my heels into this intimate mother-daughter relationship, but that never happened. In fact, as soon as Ollie enters the picture and the romance takes center stage, Maddie's mom is kind of brushed off to the side and forgotten, and as is the cliche in YA, she only comes back into the picture to be the villain, to be the antagonist, to be the one person who's putting a damper on Ollie and Maddie's relationship. And like I said, that is severely disappointing to me because the beginning of the story promises me this very deep mother-daughter bond, and this story does not fulfill that promise at all. I felt like I didn't even know Maddie and her mother's relationship, and I did not get to see that family dynamic that I wanted. And finally, the last thing I want to mention is reoccurring issues of plausibility and believability that kept cropping up in this novel. Let's just say there is a lot that happens in this book that is extremely far-fetched and well outside of the realm of possibility, and the thing is, it's not even subtle, it's very obvious. Of course, because this is a spoiler-free review, I'm not going to get into it. What I will say is that there are a lot of things that happen in the second half of this book that are very dramatic, and I really didn't feel like those big dramatic events were quite earned by these characters in this story, and really I had a hard time believing a majority of it, to be honest. The thing is, you can only expect your reader to suspend their belief for so many things, and there was a lot in this book that, as I said, was very far-fetched, and it's really distracting to be pulled out of the story as you try to reconcile what you know of the real world with these crazy far-fetched events. It's just not gonna work. I really do think that some of the things that happened in the second half of this book were purely for shock value, and that kind of cheapened the story a little bit, and that's really disappointing to me because I really wanted to love this story. I was rooting for it. I wanted to enjoy it through and through, but there were these issues that kept coming in and kept me from enjoying it as much as I probably should have. So I think you can tell that I was kind of torn over this book. There were things I really did like and admire, and there were things I really didn't like and that I couldn't come to terms with. It's kind of a mixture of positive and negative feelings. Overall, I think I did take more positive feelings away from this book than negative, but I thought it was only fair to give Everything 3.5 out of 5 stars. In the comments down below, please let me know if you have read Everything, or if you plan to read it in the near future, because I would love to hear your thoughts on the story. But obviously that is everything I had for this review video today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the flip side of the page. Bye! Yes, I've been waiting to use that outro the entire video.